On a warm night in 1977, a 17-year-old girl left a party in California and never made it home. This is the story of Mary Quigley and how science solved what time could not. Mary Elizabeth Quigley was just 17 years old. She lived in Santa Clara County, California, and by all accounts, she was a typical teenager of the 1970s, social, friendly, and trusting. She loved music. She enjoyed spending time with friends. She had her whole life ahead of her. No one who knew her believed she was in danger that night. On the night of September 1977, Mary attended a party with friends. It wasn't unusual. There was no argument, no sign of fear. At some point, Mary decided to leave. She walked away alone. That decision, something millions of teenagers have done, placed her in the path of a predator. Sometime after leaving the party, Mary encountered Richard Archibek. Archibek was not a stranger in the sense of circumstance. He was a local man who moved freely through the same communities. What happened next was violent and deliberate. Mary was sexually assaulted. She was then strangled to death. The attack showed clear signs of control and intent. This was not panic. This was not accidental. It was a calculated act by someone who believed he would never be caught. Mary's body was later discovered in a field in Santa Clara County. The scene confirmed investigators' worst fears. She had been brutally assaulted and murdered. Detectives collected all available evidence, including biological material from the crime scene. In 1977, that evidence could not identify a killer, but it was carefully preserved. That decision would change everything years later. Police launched a full investigation. They interviewed party attendees, friends, known offenders in the area, but they hit a wall. No witnesses, no confession, no usable forensic match. The case slowly went cold. Mary Quigley became another young victim whose family was left waiting for answers. While Mary's family mourned, Richard Archibek continued his life. Years later, he committed another sexual assault and was convicted. This time, his DNA was entered into the California State DNA database. At the moment his DNA profile was created, he unknowingly signed his own confession. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, cold case units began retesting old evidence. Mary Quigley's preserved biological evidence was finally tested using modern DNA technology. The result was immediate and undeniable. The DNA matched Richard Archibek. After more than 20 years, the truth was clear. Richard Archibek was a serial sexual predator. He was not connected to Mary personally. There was no relationship between them. Mary was a crime of opportunity. Investigators concluded. He saw her alone. He attacked. He killed her to avoid being identified. This was not personal rage. This was predatory violence. In 2001, Richard Archibek was formally charged with rape, murder. The DNA evidence was overwhelming. There was no alternative explanation. For the first time since 1977, Mary Quigley's family had an answer. Richard Archibek was convicted and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The court recognized the cruelty of the crime and the years of unanswered grief inflicted on Mary's loved ones. Justice had been delayed, but it had arrived. Mary Quigley was not just a victim of the past. She is proof that time does not erase truth. Even decades later, justice can still speak, if we choose to listen.